Welcome back to the Open Mic Broadcast Network. We have on the line with us Coach Heiss Northern. Coach, how you doing today, my man?
I'm doing real good. Getting ready for some Super Bowl Sunday. Sort of hoping the weather holds off. Debating on inviting a couple people over. You know, some of my either former players or teammates and a cousin or two that I have in the area. But if the weather look like it's gonna come in late on Sunday, I don't want a whole lot of people sort of, like they say, in and out the house with rain in the forecast. Because I'm fortunate enough to have an outdoor, kitchen area. So, but when you have that, people still want to go in and out. But like I said, I don't want to track stuff in the house, as the old folks say.
I know that's right. Well, my friend, the forecast is looking for rain on Saturday and Sunday. So good luck with that endeavor. Speaking of endeavors, man, we've just had the SWAC version of Christmas with the signing days, and I don't put much emphasis on the December 15th, which they're going to be doing away with that pretty soon, because we don't really get the impact as the big boys would. But this is the time for us to kind of strut like a peacock after our signing. So would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think a whole lot of FCS programs are sort of on that level because it's still a lot of guys that think such and such is going to come back in on me. Maybe one of the Power 5 or Group of 5 schools that I sort of still call it, but they still had their hopes and dreams available to somebody coming back in on them. So a lot of those guys, they'll wait. And some of them may end out, but the fortunate thing, talking to, I'll put it to you this way, I've talked to coaches at Prairie View, Grambling, and Southern within the last week, and all those guys feel like they are getting a few more, I'll say, 2 to 3 star guys that they probably wouldn't have been able to get before. Now they can get out of high school because some of those 2 and 3 star guys normally just say may have been going to a North Texas or SMU before they were going to the whatever conference they're going to now. Those guys are now getting trickled down because the quote unquote mid majors are now waiting on transfer portal kids. So you can see how the guys that, might not have would have gave you a sniff now because they not getting that offer that they thought they were going to get, or everybody trying to gray shirt and all that kind of stuff still, then some of the SWAC schools and the Southland Conference schools are reaping the benefits of getting better kids out of high school. But the thing is, can you keep those kids if they do come in, play for you early, have some success, make an all-conference team? Can you keep those guys for 4 or 5 years?
Right. Well, that's the whole new dynamics of college game right now. A lot of people talk about, of course, the transfer portal, the NIL, but now it's the recruiting within the recruiting to make sure that you get the guys and can maintain the guys, which goes now into the new development of recruiting because, as I said, you got to start in-house, then see what layers you can add to the existing house, and then hopefully bring someone in through the portal or two. And I don't know if there's an exact science to it, but if you were to start coaching today, Coach, which would you try to put more emphasis on? Because we know the urgency to win right now whenever you get to these programs, even if you don't have a lot in the stall when you take it over. But as a right now need coach, do you go for the portal? Do you go for the transfer? How do you do that?
Well, it's you have to almost treat it like you're a junior college coach now. And like I say, I've talked to those coaches as well as some other buddies of mine that may be at some Power 5 schools. And the thing is, especially if you're at that FCS level, it's more junior college. It's like, let me get the best kids I can, keep them for a year or two, and then maybe do that cycle all over again. So I know a lot of people made a big funk about the coach from Alabama A&M basically saying that, hey, we got Power 5 schools come and recruit our kids. And that's something that you wouldn't like to sell, but that's almost a selling point of some schools. You come here and ball for a year or two, and then you move on. And I can take a perfect example. You can look at Prairie View in itself. Prairie View has lost 2 of their starting safeties, I think 2 out of the past 3 years, to, I want to say, Kansas State. They've lost players too.
Mm-hmm.
And the guys that have came to Prairie View, played real good, and then with a year or 2 left, they leave. You can look at Texas Southern. They lost their starting cornerback that made all conference as a sophomore to the University of Houston. So you used to not see that. But now, especially when you mix in some things like cost of living, the NIL stuff, that's a whole different ball game that'll make a guy say, man, I could go maybe not even start, but at least compete and play, but my pocket's going to be a little bit bigger at XYZ school once I leave from an FCS school that might not be doing cost of living or NIL deals.
Right. And that's the new era of college sports that we're entertaining on these days. And like I say, coaching has always been a challenge, but there's just a couple more layers added. And all I can say to you, coaches, good luck, man. Good luck.
Yeah, really. And, I've talked to, like I say, coaches on the Power 5, the biggest of the big, and mostly FCS and a couple Division II schools. And it's almost like every kid, when they come on a visit, is looking for what else are you offering me besides a full scholarship, where it's the NIL, the collective that some schools have, where a guy he's not getting an NIL deal per se, but because, just say Texas A&M, and I know you don't like using them, but they have a collective where they put together money, and all a guy has to do is maybe one interview per week or put on his social media that he likes to eat at XYZ when he has free time. That's the true NIL stuff, but everybody's looking for what can you give me besides my full scholarship and my Pell Grant. Is what's the NIL, what's the cost of living, all those types of things. And to a man, the coaches that I've talked to say that's the first thing out of guys' mouth. What are you offering? And I have had it confirmed that some student athletes are getting paid a visit fee as well as a signing bonus. Like, it's like an NFL deal. Like, hey, you sign with us, you're going to get this contract, or you're going to get X amount of dollars. And I can remember a while back when my brother was in school at LSU, the big thing was they would host guys and just say, when my brother, he may have hosted Kevin Falk when Kevin was coming out of high school. And if Kevin signed with LSU, for example, then whoever was his host can go to the recruiting coach office and get, a couple $100 extra along with the money that he got to host them. But then just say they had certain restaurants that they could go to and pretty much eat free. So, those guys would get money on top of money. But now it's, the handlers, the 7-on-7 coach that need to get his pocket greased. And then the mom and daddy, what's in it for us, and, all that type of stuff that, it might have been under the rug or the carpet a little bit. Like say, now it's sitting on top of the table, and people not scared to act. And, some of the guys are saying the bad thing about it, just say if I'm in Baton Rouge and I got a kid I'm going to use my high school, Glen Oaks High School, for example. I got a kid that's getting recruited by LSU, the Miamis of the world or whatever. And then I also have some kids that's getting recruited by the Southerns, the Grambling, the Nickel State. And, those guys all have conversations. But you say the part of the problem is the guys that are getting recruited by the FCS schools, they still talking to the Power 5 guys. And those FCS guys, they know what their buddy's getting offered. And like, hey, can I get, a partial of what that kid is being told that he is being offered? And it's mixing the game up, like they say.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I wonder, does a bologna and cheese sandwich count, Coach, as part of the NIL deal?
Hey, man, I tell you, we used to have a coach that say if you keep messing up, I'm gonna give you a bologna sandwich and a bus ticket. That's the only thing you're gonna get from us, and the bus ticket was gonna be one way back to where you came from.
Hey, that was Coach Tank, man. He said, keep on, keep it on. I'm going to give you a red apple and a one-way ticket back to wherever you come from.
Yes, sir.
Oh, man. Well, look, Coach, we've had the signing there. Before we get into some of these recruits that have been picked up, I always look at recruiting day or signing day as a 50-50 deal. It looks good on paper, but let's be honest, Coach, from what I could recall, I'm going to say if 30% of these guys are still on your program list and actively contributing, it's about a 30% factor from when they come in. So I don't get overwhelmed about that. Now, my numbers might seem low to you or others that are listening, but I know it's exciting about this thing. And when I say hanging around, either they become ineligible, they fade out, they wasn't who we thought they were going to be, or they just drop out altogether. And that's why I say you're lucky if you got 30% standing. Traditionally, do you see the numbers maybe a little bit higher from your vantage point?
Well, I think I would say 5 to 10 years ago, if you had 50%, you might have been hitting pretty good. And then when they first started the APR, you wanted to be a little bit higher, so you can get those points for retention, as well as, they progressing towards a degree. But now I think you sound sort of spot on when you're in that 30 to 40% range, because you got to think some guys are going to struggle or want to leave because you go from being the man of the man to not having to compete to be a guy. And then you have that dynamic of possibly having a red shirt. Some of those guys, you had a dynamic of being away from home and being immature, being away from mama, girlfriend, and all that kind of stuff. So I think that 30% range may be a good number because of, how many guys you're going to lose to grades and playing time, and then how many guys are you going to lose maybe just to the transfer portal nowadays in itself. So if you have, just say if you signing 20 to 25 guys, you hoping that, 10 to 12 of those guys on a good team will end up being seniors, if you're not counting your walk-ons and all that type of stuff. So that number can vary from school to school, and then depends on, are you trying to develop kids? Are you trying to get guys that can come in right away and play for you? Which everybody wants everyone to be, at least have the ability to come in and play, unless a kid may have gotten hurt his senior year of high school. And that's sort of how you get a guy. Some people may remember Trey Green, the quarterback out of Beaumont that ended up starting at Prairie View. We pretty much got him because he hurt his knee his senior year of high school. So you have those instances where you may have a 3 or 4 star kid that'll drop to you because of an injury or something like that. But, it's still hard to just keep guys around for those 4 years.
Yes, sir. Well, once again, I'll say good luck to everyone that gets involved in the business of coaching. Now, let's come back home. I want to touch that Purview schedule in a little bit, but let's go back to what the guys have on paper, at least coming into some of these stalls, man. What you got?
Well, I'm not gonna get too specific with names, but I'll just say all 3 of the primary coaches. I'm gonna just use, like say, Prairie View, Southern, and Grambling as the main schools that I've talked to and can say without any apprehension. A lot of those schools loaded up on some, in my estimation and my like you say, my research, on some pretty good offensive linemen. It looked like Grambling went and got about 6 offensive linemen. Prairie View got, they had a couple come in at the mid-year, then they picked up a couple more and a couple more junior college kids. And then Southern pretty much did the same thing. They got some pretty good guys out of high school, as well as a couple of transfers that I understand are already on campus working out with the team. So, I think everybody that I talk to has at least 3 offensive linemen that they signed either mid-year or were some junior college guys or transfers that are already on campus learning the system and, working out with the team. So everybody did, in my estimation, pretty good on fulfilling some needs along the offensive line because of, a couple of guys left. And then a couple of guys that I talked to, they ended up being better because they didn't lose some guys that entered the transfer portal. So, just say, I know Southern had a guy, a defensive end that joined the transfer or signed up for the transfer portal, entered the transfer portal, and then decided once Coach Graves became the coach, and then he noticed that a lot of the same coaches on the defensive side of the ball were still going to be there, he decided to stay at Southern instead of go off and, like say, test the waters per se. So, I think everyone did real good. I think everyone also looked like they went and signed a better than advertised quarterback. And a couple of them got, some junior college guys, some very athletic guys. It's not just, we went and found us a pocket passer. Every school that I talked to has what most people call a dual threat guy that can throw it. It used to be if you were a dual threat, you really couldn't throw the ball that good. You just was the best athlete out there. Everybody that I've seen is a dual threat guy that can pull a trigger, got a nice spin on the ball, as well as they not just going to hurt you if they get in the open field. They can beat you. They not just going to, some of those guys going to score touchdowns instead of just getting the first down if they get in the open field. They're going to get some safeties, some problems depending on what coverage you're playing, because the linebacker's not going to stand a chance with a couple of these guys. Like I say, remember this conversation when you watching some games in the fall, like, man, Coach was spot on with some of those guys in terms of their ability to run the ball. But the thing that's going to be the difference maker, can they anticipate in the passing game, and can they pick the system up fast enough in the early part of the season to be able to make a difference?
Right. Now, I know everybody gets excited about the quarterback that can spin it, that's dual threat, and the running back that can run. But none of these things are going to be accessible unless you got somebody that can open up lanes for him and protect the quarterback to give him the time to go through his progressions. And maybe this is the old school in me coming out. Yes, I want that quarterback. I want that dude at the quarterback position. But I believe I got a higher percentage of winning and executing if I got a decent and strong line to protect even the average quarterback.
Yes, and like I said, if you look at Grambling signing 6 offensive linemen, if you count both signing periods, Southern signed 3, I know for sure, and then I think they already had 2 that were on campus. Prairie View had 2 that I want to say are already on campus, and then they added to that out of that group of signees that they just made public. So everybody is loading up on offensive linemen, and the thing about it, it used to be, a lot of times when you got SWAC offensive linemen, either they were undersized or oversized. And a lot of these guys, if their measurables hold true, they are good size. They not the guy that you have to bring in and almost hope that he lose 40 pounds before school start, or the guy that, he might be 6'5", but he's 250 instead of being closer to 300 pounds, where you got to pretty much redshirt a kid and hope that he gets stronger during that redshirt development year. So it's some good, like I say, if you're looking at it on paper, if those guys can maintain and still get stronger, which at this point of the year, you got to hope they coming from a good high school program. Some coaches, once those guys become seniors in high school, they putting them pretty much out of the football program because they don't want them around. But I think if you have a good relationship, hey, coach, can such and such still be in the program? We want to make sure that guy's working out. We're going to send him our workout program, what our guys are doing at Prairie View, what our guys are doing at Grambling and the Southern, and let them get a head start so by the time they finish and hopefully be able to come to summer school or get in the summer program at our university, they will be up to strength, not up to par and speed-wise, but at least they can give themselves a fighting chance to be a dependable backup or having the ability to start.
Okay. We're talking, of course, with Coach Heiss Northern, and you get ready to chuckle, Coach. I'm about to say it. Our guru,
Don't say
Coach.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Now, Coach, we got this recruited, and then another thing that people don't really focus on a lot is we're not done quite with the signings, because then there's a spring signing after you get your assessment of your spring game, and you have a couple more scholarships available that you kind of add some missing pieces to help fortify that fall program. When you go in there, are you looking for some depth, or it all depends on you looking for need at that time?
It's still going to be a combination of both, because once you go to spring ball, depending on your injury situation, or you still going to have that transfer portal open up, you might have a guy that's at your school right now that has he's second on the depth chart when he thinks he's a starter. So he may say, well, I'm going to enter the portal, and maybe I could go to a Division II school or get at another school maybe within the conference. So you still going to have that. Then you're going to have that guy that when the semester over with, he might be barely hanging on school-wise. So you think, man, if we lose this kid, we better have something else available to us. So you may look at it from that point, and then you can still look at your roster and see, all right, we went through spring ball. We pretty good at the wheel linebacker spot, but we real thin behind X, Y, Z. So you still going to look at your possible transfers, and then this is a time, too, where you might can still find you some quality walk-ons. And you can say, look, man, I don't have a spot. I don't have a scholarship for you now, but if you come in and you play for us your freshman year, maybe by the midterm, I can, give you a partial scholarship or give you some scholarship money. And those walk-ons are very important. I was thinking just the other day, Coach Sewell and I were talking, and we looked in the SWAC championship game when we played Alabama A&M. At one time, we had 3 walk-ons at linebacker for us. One of our linebackers had gotten hurt, but the 2 other walk-ons were pretty much in heavy rotation. If they didn't start, they played a lot. So those walk-ons can be very valuable to you. Like I said, they're going to come in, they might be a couple inches shorter than what you want, a couple pounds lighter than what you want, but at the end of the day, they some good football players. And if they hang around for a year or two, man, some of those guys going to really pan out for you and end up working their way up to being a scholarship football player. If they just hang around the program long enough. And I would tell guys, look, man, you walked on, but you're going to be able to help this team. Just don't rush and think, man, I got to get a scholarship right now. And like I said, I had one guy that we put on scholarship my last year there that basically told me, like, Coach, I was on my way out the door if you didn't put me on scholarship. But now is the time of year where you find your quality walk-ons. You still scouring for some guys to at least provide some depth out of the transfer portal at the end of spring football.
Absolutely, because if you mention a football player, regardless of what it looks like or he looks like in the body armor, if they got that motor and that heart, man, you say you find some diamond in the rough that can carry you a long way.
Yes, sir. If you think about it, Quentin Spears was a walk-on football player at Prairie View. So that sort of tells you, and like I say, you get your good late finds that can help you win some ball games because they came in and they did what they were supposed to do. So, and a lot of times, like I say, it's the difference between an athlete and a football player, because that football player, he'll play on concrete. The athlete, he gonna play when it's convenient, or he not gonna make the tough plays. The football player, he don't care what it is. He don't need to stretch. He don't need no tape. He don't need no gloves on. He just want to go out there and knock the mess out of somebody. Sometimes you need that.
Look, I just thought about the water boy when you said.
Oh yeah. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Now, Coach, I want to ask a question of speculation in two particular programs. I know you didn't get a chance to do a whole bunch with them, but I'm thinking about FAMU and Texas Southern with the similarities them having a late hire in their coaches search. And I know that does have somewhat of an impact when it comes to recruiting. But do you, quote unquote, give these guys like a mulligan, especially in their first year, because of the lateness of their arrival?
Man, I tell you this, man, don't nobody, if you can get hired, I'll say August the 31st, and if you got a game on September 1st, them folks want you to win. So it's really no mulligans. At the end of the day, it's about trying to get guys ready. And I think those coaches that took the job, knew what they were getting into. And in FAM's case, they still had some holdover from their staff, even though they lost a few coaches and some of their players in a transfer portal. But I think they probably going to be in a little bit better shape than Texas Southern would be, because you're bringing in a guy that hadn't coached in this area. He's coached in the area, but not on a collegiate level. And then you have to see who on this staff is still there that were still out there, convincing guys to buy into Texas Southern University. But like I say, the good thing about Texas Southern is they pretty much have open enrollment, and you can transfer there and be eligible with the NCAA minimum, not to discount it, but the NCAA minimum as far as requirements, and still be able to play. So they're going to find some guys that's looking for a chance to further their career, and they're going to find some guys maybe out of the high school ranks that didn't sign with whoever they thought they were going to sign with, and still be a good football player for them.
Yeah, and a couple of quarterbacking notes within the conference. It's going to be interesting to see how Andrew Body pairs out with Alabama State. And then Blood, who had originally transferred to Mississippi Valley, has left Mississippi Valley to go to Missouri.
Yeah, I think that more, like I said, I had a chance to talk to that kid before. I think that was more of a school issue as opposed to a football issue. He may go up there and try to serve as a quality, quote-unquote, backup up there in Missouri, but I think that was more of a, I know this is where I want to go to graduate school, because he already graduated from Southern. The Body move, and I'll put it to you like this, being honest with you, I'm not the biggest of Body fan. Haven't seen him up close in person. I think he does some things well, but unless that arm is healed all the way up, I still question his ability to throw the football on schedule. But he is a playmaker. I give him that. But I still think in the passing game, from what I saw, he left a lot to be desired in terms of seeing some throws open. If it's a pre-programmed play, like if I get this read, I know I'm going backside to my X. He is very good at that. But if he has the read inside out cornerback, I say Sam linebacker to cornerback or Sam linebacker to safety, I didn't think he was that good at those reads. Like I say, that's me judging from having seen. I'm looking at the formation. Okay, this is what he's looking at. I wasn't the biggest fan of him. I would probably say, could he play for me? Yes. But if I had a kid that, to me, understood the passing game a little bit better, I think that kid would pass Body up. But, I'm going to definitely have a package for that joke, I'll tell you that much.
I know that's right. I don't
know what they're going to do on offense. Coach Williams is no longer the offensive coordinator there. but I'm pretty sure they're going to have some quarterback design runs, some spread stuff where, he's going to be okay. And the thing about it, man, they defense still going to be pretty good over there at Alabama State.
No doubt. No doubt.
The thing is, hey, man, you just don't turn the ball over and we're going to be all right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, let us look into this 2024 Panthers schedule. A lot of people in a big uproar about Prairie View playing Michigan State, but we do understand the dynamics of that. My only thing was they shouldn't go up there for no less than $750,000, but that's just me. But they got a very strong Southland Conference lockup. They're going to be playing Texas Commerce, who are, I think, their second season in the Southland, and of course they played Northwestern State and Incarnate Word. When you look at it on the surface, that's not a bad non-conference schedule, huh?
No, it's a very regional schedule. So I think they are going to Incarnate Word this time.
Yes.
Commerce is coming to them, and I think they are going to Northwestern State, which is not a bad ride, depending on, like I say, which way you go. But I think that's a good regional schedule. And anytime you can, like I say, get on the bus and go play somebody, I think that's not bad. The thing with Texas A&M Commerce, they moving up, so we used to say they still gonna have some D2 guys on the roster that probably wouldn't have been there, but maybe because of grades or whatever, they at Commerce. So that's gonna be a pretty good game in my opinion. Northwestern, they had a lot going on in their program. Their coach resigned. One of the players ended up getting killed last year. So, for their sake, I sort of hope they rebound from a program. But, I'm not going to wish them well against the Panthers in no way, shape, or form. And then, going up to Michigan State, I don't know what is the pay parameters of that game. But, I'm sort of like this. And I'll probably tell the truth too much, but I think if you're going to play a team like that, that sort of has to be a 2-year plan in order to say, okay, I know I'm going in with a guy with an AK and I got a .22 revolver from the get-go. But if you give me, okay, let me bring my guys to summer school 2 years in a row, let me make sure my guys stay around the campus. Let me make sure our strength department is up to schedule. Then I would say I don't have a problem playing that game. But at the same time, I don't want to go play against the Michigan State. And not to say this the wrong way, but the money's going to volleyball and softball. You understand what I'm saying? I want that money to go, a certain percentage of that money to go directly into the football budget and nobody else's. That is Heights Northern opinion. So if I'm going to do this, then that's the way I think it should be done. The other thing is just making sure that we are all aligned in, all right, how are we going to do this? Because if you're going to talk about coaches' pay being based off incentives and wins, what you're going to start happening is, if coach getting a bonus for 7 wins, he going to play his SWAC schedule, and then he going to play the likes of Lincoln in California, Lincoln in Missouri, Virginia University of Lynchburg. He going to do what he has to do in order to win games, because at the end of the day, your schedule not going to say, oh, he got these wins versus Division II, Division III, Wilder High, whatever. It's going to say 8-3, 7-4, or whatever. So you got to be careful when you sending your football team and your coaches out to play the likes of the Michigan States or whatever. I would much rather play a regional team if I'm going to play a Power 5 team for my school and for my fans, because the Prairie View fans probably, that's not a destination going to East Lansing, Michigan, if you understand what I'm saying. If I go UT Austin or LSU or SMU, somewhere along those lines regionally, I would see that. But like I say, that's the opinions of Heights Northern and not the radio affiliates and all that kind of stuff. The other thing, when I was at Grambling, now mind you, this is almost 20 years ago, whenever we played a Division I school, or FBS school, or we played a classic, some of that money went directly into the football budget, and also the head coach, along with all of his assistants, got a bonus for every classic that we played. So when I was at Grambling one year, we played the Bayou Classic, the State Fair Classic. We played in Shreveport. I don't even know what that classic was called, but for every one of those games,
the Heritage Classic? Was it the Heritage
no,
Classic?
it might have been another a State Fair, something fair classic, because it's played in the State Fair of Louisiana at the Independence. It might have been the Independence Classic or something like that. But long story short, we got a bonus for every one of those games, along with a bonus for the SWAC championship game, and then we actually got a bonus for spring football. It was like basically anytime we were coaching, you had a chance to get a little bit extra money in your pocket.
Okay. Well, they say bring back the glory days, huh?
Yes, sir.
I know that's right. Well, Coach, when you look at all of this and you add this and subtract that, and we know it's about wins and losses, what psychological impact does it have on a team, not necessarily the coaching staff, to face up against a Power 5 program? Do you have to psych these guys up and say, hey, you got a chance, but in the back of your mind, you know you really don't have a chance?
Well, the thing that I would teach, whenever you're playing against somebody that's on paper better than you, do what you are supposed to do the way you were taught to do it. And then we'll adjust from that. If sometimes if they double teaming you and you got 600 pounds versus 260 to 280 pounds, they going to win that. But I want to see, are you playing with effort? Are you playing with technique? Are you at least trying to do what you being taught and not what we call wildcat? I'm just going out there trying to make plays because we playing against Michigan State. Let's go out there and do the things that we have been taught that we would do. If you change their uniforms to Texas Southern, are we doing what we normally would do? So, I know they're going to be probably bigger and faster, but sometimes you're going to have that in life where you got to go up against a challenge and say, look, I'm here and I'm not going nowhere. So you got to just put your best foot forward no matter what the situation is. And then, like say, if you got some guys with some NFL aspirations of moving up to the Power 5, you go up there and have a good football game against them, then other people are going to be looking at that as well. So, like I say, you could take the guy that was at Florida State that started off at the University of Albany, I want to say, and he got discovered because they were on film playing against Syracuse, and everybody's like, who is this guy? So it's different ways to, like say, skin a cat to sell guys on playing good football. But, like I say, I'm going to go in there thinking, hey, man, no matter what it say, we have a fighting chance. But at the end of the day, I just want you to do the things that we normally would do, and let's see what happens.
Right. And another thing that I would try to stay away from, I don't mind per se playing these Power 5s early in the season, but don't schedule me in November. When you're tuning up for your rival game. I want to catch you when you're raw and you're trying to figure out some things too, and I might have a fighter's chance.
Yes, sir. If you get them early, and like I said, I think a lot of it is depending on what you do on offense. So, talking to some coaches, I'm like, what? I ask a whole lot of guys, if you are totally outmanned, what do you do from a football perspective? And the thing that you have to do if you are outmanned, you have to find a way to slow guys down. And the way you slow them down is by making them think. Either you put some motion in front of them, instead of trying to block the best player on the team, you read off the best player on the team, and you try to make him make a mistake. The quarterback, hey, man, you got to hold his zone read a whole lot longer. You got to make him commit to it before you hand that ball off or before you pull it. You can't just go in there and give it away because you're scared to get hit. So you got to find a way to make those guys think. And the other thing is you got to like I say, put some eye candy in front of them, make somebody move, make them think this guy gonna block him, and then now you got a trap or something like that coming. So you gotta, the way when you outman, you gotta make the guy that's just simply better than you. You gotta make him think a little bit.
Okay.
That's how you slow guys down.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we know defensive side. It's about reaction anyway. You don't want to think too much. You say study long, you study wrong. So you want to make sure that these guys are hopping in and out. Coach, we are always, as they say, enlightened, man. And as I tell you each week, man, you got a little fan club through the network over here, man, and we appreciate you giving us the time of the day. We're coming down to this Super Bowl pick, and it was something I was going to ask you about this college football dynamics that we have right now with the trickle-down effect that's coming from SEC and the Big Ten making their little quote-unquote merger. And what do you see the forecast of this thing trickling down, and how will it affect the FCS land?
Well, the thing about it is going to all sort of go back to almost at the end of the day, TV and money and butts and seats. So a lot of that is what's driving this merger between some of those schools. Now, how it's going to work, I have no idea how USC and Rutgers or UCLA and, the Michigans or the Marylands, what kind of sense does that make to me from a college landscape flying all across the country? So you thinking if you have a game on Saturday, now some of those schools are going to possibly think about leaving on Thursday. Or you're going to have to stagger your schedule where you can't have back-to-back coast-to-coast trips. That's going to be a lot on the student-athlete. And so, I say the travel, and then when you get to the basketballs and the baseballs who have midweek games, how is that going to work? I was talking to my son the other day about baseball. To me, was a much harder sport to play in college because of the time. So just say when I was at Southern my freshman year playing baseball, if we got to go to Tulane for a baseball game, where you got to leave early in the morning, you got to get your batting practice in, all those types of things. Then you got to play the game. Then you got to drive back to Southern. Oh yeah, but you still got class the next day. Oh, and I was playing football. So if we had a 6:30 morning run, I had to be at that 6:30 morning run. So it was, those types of things that those administrators didn't think about when your basketball team, UCLA, had to play Rutgers on a Tuesday night. Oh, and they got to fly, or they going to fly a commercial, or they going to fly a charter. So that's a whole 2 or 3 days of class that they going to end up missing, fooling around playing collegiate sports. So, just all that type of stuff. But the TV is driving it. In their mind, they making all this money, but they not once did it seem like they thought about the welfare of the student athletes.
Well, one of the things they're talking about to compensate that is football and basketball. They'll endure the travel because they're the quote-unquote money sports, but they want to try to work out some type of pod system or even working out more regional play for the Olympic or the non-revenue sports. So they're sorting this thing out, and I give it 5 years tops, where I've been recommending that the NCAA sever ties with that Power 5 group, Power 4 group, let them go on and set up their own entity because that's what they're doing anyway. And then you regroup and refocus as an NCAA organization. And the Group 5 FCS program, as far as football go, you reassess that and reassign those divisions and then rally everybody else in and then move on with your life.
Yeah, but the hardest part of that is going to be, like, say, dealing with, just say if you have Power 5 to non-Power 5 to transfer, they may try to come up with different rules in terms of, all right, we want our game to look like the NFL game, Well, the non-FBS schools may say, well, we want ours to look more like an XFL or a spring football league with the kickoff rules, all those different types of things. But the pod system makes sense because I think actually that is what they have been talking about in the SEC for a minute, grouping the Texas and the Oklahomas in one pod, the Louisiana, Mississippi's together, the East Coast of the SEC, and then the Missouris, the Kentuckys, all those schools together. So they've been talking about doing that already with what they would call the permanent opposite division, or the permanent, you have your permanent rivalry games that you're going to get to play sort of no matter what. So it's a lot of different ways, but the complaint comes, and we had this when I was in the SWAC, if everybody, the complaint would come if, just say, Prairie View and Texas Southern got matched up with Valley every year. Now, Grambling and Southern going to complain because, we got matched up with Jackson State or FAM. Something like that is going to happen no matter how you cut it up. So you got to have different ways to get everybody still playing everybody on a 4-year basis. You should play every school in your conference, and I think that's what they were trying to get to in that SEC model, with that pod model.
Okay, I got you. Well, look, as you see, I'm getting all bombarded and jammed up over here. I got to give you an opportunity, Coach, to have some closing thoughts and comments. We already know you're rolling with the Chiefs this weekend, right?
Well, I put it like this. I'm pulling for the Chiefs, but I honestly think San Fran has a better team. That's my honest, because I think if you look at San Fran's weapons, they got a great tight end. They got Debo Samuel, receiver, along with a couple other guys. Their offensive line is pretty salty. But, the quarterback leaves a lot to be desired if pressured. But they got Christian McCaffrey, who can take a lot of pressure off of them. If I'm betting my money on Kansas City, I'm doing everything I can to stop Christian McCaffrey and Kittle's the tight end. Debo going to get his because they can get Debo the ball on the screens, or they'll put him at running back and just say, here, man, you go over there and run over a couple people or use your speed to outrun some people.
Right.
Kansas City
so
doesn't
strong,
have that.
man.
Yeah, man, he's a different guy. Even the linebackers, they might get ran over by Debo. He's that type of guy.
Right.
So,
right.
like I say,
and he got the right name too, don't he, Debo?
Yes, sir. Yeah, he out there, like they say, he out there playing bullet ball. You can tackle me if you want to, but you gonna feel some of this too. But
I know that's right.
I really do think that San Fran has a better team. But like I said, when Kansas City was playing Baltimore, man, I wouldn't bet on against Patrick Mahomes if he out there with one leg, in a sling or whatever, in a cast. I'm gonna still set a little bit of my betting money aside for Pat Mahomes at the end of the day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, look, Coach, I want to leave this question with you, based on the pecking order of what you've gathered from the recruiting. Who do you think were the winners amongst the teams that you recruited? If you can only pick one. I don't need no politically correct answer. Who do you think was the winner in the early signings?
So just say, if I'm just picking off the western side of the people that I talked to? Oh, man, I'm gonna give a nod to Grambling because of the amount of offensive linemen that they signed. I would say I would have to give the nod to Grambling because just for the simple fact they got some good offensive linemen, and then they got a couple of defensive linemen, in particular some tackles that's not to be slept on. So I would give the nod to them. Followed probably by Prairie View, and then Southern is going to be in the mix because they did get some good offensive line. I think, and I put it like this, I think Coach McDowell hit on some immediate needs. I think Southern hit some needs and some some wants as well. But like I say, I would think Grambling, because of their line selection, did better than everybody.
All right, my friend. Well, look, I need you to stay dry this weekend, man, and hopefully they don't dampen your Super Bowl party. You guys stay safe and stay full. And as they say, if the creek don't rise and the Lord delays is coming, we'll get together next week and recap everything.
Will do. Thank you.
All right, Coach Heiss Northern, our football guru, coaching expert, and I am the radio. He's laughing again. You stop that laughing, Coach. It's going to be all right, man. You have to grow into it, man. You have to grow into it. No, you bring the noise, man, and I appreciate you, and the people appreciate you to the utmost. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. I want to thank you guys again for joining in with us. Remember to follow me on X at The Mike Prince Show. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Open Mic Broadcast Network, and do visit the website for our 24-hour stream at obnradio.com. And until the next time, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.